The underground parking garage smelled like damp concrete and old oil, the kind of place where sound lingered too long and light never quite reached the corners. Morning in Chicago had barely woken up, but the city already felt impatient, like it was tapping its foot and checking its watch. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead as cars crept through narrow lanes, engines humming low and irritated. She sat behind the wheel of her aging sedan, hands tight around the steering wheel, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the digital clock glowing on the dashboard. 8:42 a.m. Too late to be calm, too early to give up. Today wasn't just another shift. It was her first day at a new job, not a dream job, not a miracle, just a chance, a foothold, something that might finally pull her out of endless double shifts, overdue notices, and the quiet fear that one bad month could ruin everything. She had ironed her blouse the night before, laid out her shoes, told herself this morning mattered. She eased the car forward, signaling as she aimed for the exit ramp. The space was tight, the turn awkward, but she was almost out. Then a black luxury car slid sideways across the lane. Not accidentally, not clumsily. Deliberately. The car moved with smooth, arrogant precision, cutting her off completely and stopping dead, its glossy body blocking the narrow exit like a wall. No hazard lights. No hesitation, just finality. Her foot slammed on the brake. "What the hell?" she whispered, then louder. No, you've got to be kidding me." She checked the clock again. 8:43. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. There was no room to go around. Concrete pillars boxed her in. Cars behind her began to inch closer, trapped now because of him. She tapped her horn once. Polite, a warning. Nothing. She tapped again, longer this time. The black car didn't move. Panic rose fast, hot and sharp. She thought of the staffing agent's voice, light and careless. First impressions matter. She thought of the alarm she'd hit snooze on one too many times, of the rent due next week, of how close she was to being late again in a life already full of almosts. Anger followed panic like a reflex. She shoved the door open and stepped out, heels striking the concrete with a sharp crack that echoed through the garage. The air felt colder outside the car, heavier. She marched toward the black vehicle, heart pounding, spine straight, refusing to shrink. The driver's door opened slowly. A man stepped out. He was taller than she expected, broad-shouldered, dressed in dark clothes that looked expensive without trying to. His movements were unhurried, controlled, like time bent around him instead of the other way around. He shut the door softly and looked at her as if she were a minor inconvenience he'd already decided how to handle. Something about that look made her grip her hands into fists. "You blocked my car," she said, voice tight but steady. "Move." He glanced past her, then back at her face, his expression unreadable. Calm, cold, dismissive. "I don't see a problem," he said. Her laugh came out sharp and humorless. "Of course you don't. You don't see me either, right? You don't see that people have places to be." "I saw an open lane," he replied. "I took it. That lane was my exit. And now it's not." The way he said it, flat and effortless, made something flare inside her chest. Fear didn't have room to settle. Pride took over instead. "You don't get to decide that," she snapped. "You don't get to trap people because you feel like it." His eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in assessment, as if he were measuring her, weighing something unseen. "You're blocking my car," he said coolly. "Step aside." She didn't move. Cars idled behind her now. Somewhere a horn blared. The clock in her mind screamed. "No," she said. "You're going to back up right now." For the first time, something flickered across his face. Not irritation, not rage. Interest. It unsettled her, more than anger would have. Most men like him shouted, threatened, leaned on size or status. This one just watched her, head tilted slightly, as if she'd said something unexpected. "You're late," he said quietly, eyes flicking to her car, then back to her. "That makes you reckless." She bristled. "And you blocking me makes you entitled." Silence stretched between them, thick and charged. The garage seemed to hold its breath. Then, without another word, he took a step back and lifted his hand. The black car rolled backward just enough to open a narrow path, not generous, not apologetic. Deliberate. She stared at him for half a second, pulse racing, then turned without thanking him and hurried back to her car. As she pulled past, she felt his gaze on her, steady and unsettling, following her like a shadow. In her rearview mirror, she saw him still standing there, watching, a faint curve at the corner of his mouth that wasn't a smile. She told herself it was nothing, just another rude stranger in a city full of them. But as she drove up toward the street and the light of morning, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. That the man she had just confronted hadn't been angered at all. He had been curious. In the aftermath of the garage, without announcing itself, she drives into the street with her heart still racing. Traffic swallows her car, and the city resumes its noise. But the man stays with her. Not his face exactly. The way he looked at her. Like she was something unexpected. She tells herself to forget it. She has bigger problems. First day nerves. New job pressure. Rent due soon. Life does not pause for strange men in black cars. Yet blocks away from the garage. Her hands are still shaking. She parks near the building where she is supposed to work. Steps out into the cold air. Smooths her blouse. Checks her reflection in the car window. Tired eyes. Determined jaw. She whispers to herself that she belongs wherever she chooses to stand. Inside the building, the world feels different. Too clean. Too quiet. Too controlled. Security guards nod at people they recognize. People who walk like they own the floor beneath them. She gives her name at the front desk. The receptionist pauses just a second too long, then smiles politely. You are expected. Expected. The word sends a small chill through her. She follows directions down a long hallway. Glass walls. Muted conversations. Voices lowered in respect or fear, she cannot tell. She notices how people step aside for certain men. How conversations stop when they pass. Meanwhile, across the city, in a private office far above street level, the man from the garage stands by a wide window, hands behind his back, looking down at traffic like it is a living map. One of his men speaks quietly behind him, says the cameras caught everything. The confrontation, the way she stood in front of the car, the way she did not back down. Any trouble? The man asks. No. His voice is calm. Final. His men exchange looks. They are used to anger. Used to punishment. This reaction is unfamiliar. He turns slightly. Asks for her name. Not because he needs it, but because he wants it. Back at the building, she is led into a room with others. Temporary hires. Assistants. Nervous smiles. Everyone pretending they are not intimidated. A woman begins explaining rules. About discretion. About loyalty. About silence. The words feel heavier than a normal office speech. She listens carefully. She always does. Then a screen lights up at the front of the room. A photo appears. Her breath stops. It is him. Not the garage version. But polished. Controlled. Named. Titled. The man she stood in front of. The man she argued with. The man who blocked her car. Only now the room treats him like gravity itself. The speaker calls him by name. Calls him leader. Calls him visionary. Her ears ring. Her pulse pounds. She understands one terrible truth. She did not argue with a rude stranger. She challenged a man people fear. And somewhere across the city, as if sensing the shift, he smiles not with amusement, but with something darker. Interest deepening. Not fading. Because the woman who blocked his car has now unknowingly stepped into his world. And worlds like his Do not let people walk away easily. Silence the kind that presses against the ears. She sits at a narrow desk with a borrowed chair. Hands folded. Back straight. Trying not to look as overwhelmed as she feels. The room is too quiet. No phones ringing. No laughter. Only keyboards and soft footsteps. People move with intention here. Nothing wasted. Nothing accidental. She keeps her eyes on the folder in front of her. Reads the same paragraph again and again. But the words do not stay. Her mind keeps drifting back to the garage. To the moment his eyes changed. To the way the air felt heavier after. She tells herself the reveal does not matter. What she did is already done. She did not know. And knowing now changes nothing. She cannot undo standing her ground. She cannot rewind time. Still, fear settles deeper now. Not sharp. Not loud. Just constant. Someone passes her desk. Their shadow pauses. Then moves on. She feels watched. Measured. Down the hall behind glass walls. Voices murmur low. Names spoken carefully. Some with respect. Some with unease. She hears his name again. Spoken with caution. Spoken like it carries weight. Spoken like it does not belong to ordinary men. She swallows and forces herself to breathe slowly. Across the city, far from her quiet desk, he sits at a long table, surrounded by men who do not interrupt him. They wait. They always wait. He does not raise his voice. Does not lean forward. Does not need to. They speak of routes and shipments. Of territory shifting. Of someone testing boundaries. He listens. Eyes steady. Mind elsewhere. He asks again about her. The woman from the garage. One of his men answers carefully. Says she started today. Says she works under the front operation. Says she does not know. Good. He says. The word lands heavy. He does not explain. He never does. Back at the office. She stands to get water. The walk feels longer than it should. Every step echoes. In the pantry. Two women stop, talking when she enters. Smiles appear too quickly. Too practiced. She fills her cup. Hands steady. She refuses to show fear. She has survived worse places than this. When she turns, one woman studies her. Not with kindness. With curiosity. You are new. The woman says. Yes. She replies. Welcome. The woman answers. But the word feels hollow. Back at her desk. An envelope waits. No name. No note. Just her desk number written neatly. Inside is a parking pass. Level 3. Her chest tightens. She knows without being told. This is not kindness. This is not coincidence. This is attention. And attention from men like him is never accidental. She looks toward the glass offices down the hall. Cannot see inside. But she feels him. Watching. Waiting. Not angry. Not finished. Interested. And she understands something that makes her stomach drop. Standing up to him did not end anything. It began something she does not yet understand. And once begun, there will be no easy exit. A door opening where no one announces themselves. The message arrives without sound. A small notification on her screen. She is requested upstairs. No reason given. No time listed. Just now. Her fingers hover above the keyboard. She feels the shift immediately. The air tightens. The floor feels farther away than before. She stands. Smooths her clothes. Walks past desks where eyes lift and lower too quickly. No one speaks. No one offers help. The elevator doors close. The ascent feels longer than it should. Her reflection stares back at her. Calm on the outside. Storm inside. She reaches the top floor. The doors open into silence and glass. The view of the city stretches endlessly. Cold and vast. A man waits near the far wall. Not behind a desk. Not seated. Standing as if he has been there a long time. He turns before she speaks, as if he sensed her arrival. Their eyes meet. The recognition hits her like a physical force. Her breath stalls. Her pulse spikes. It is him. Not the man from the garage exactly. This version is composed. Still. Dangerously contained. He looks at her the same way he did that morning. Not with anger. Not with apology. With focus. She realizes something in that instant. He knew this would happen. He knew she would be here. And he planned for it. She takes a step forward. Stops. Chooses not to retreat. He speaks first. His voice low. Controlled. He says her name correctly. Not asking. Not testing. That alone unsettles her more than shouting ever could. She answers evenly. Refuses to apologize. Refuses to explain. She does not mention the garage. But it hangs between them. Thick and alive. He studies her again. Not like a man judging an employee. Like a man measuring risk. He tells her she surprised him. Says very few people meet him without fear. Fewer still speak. She replies that fear does not give anyone the right to dominate space. A flicker crosses his eyes. Approval. Curiosity. Something darker beneath. He steps closer. Not invading. Just enough that she feels the heat of him. The weight of presence. He tells her she stands where she should not. That this world is not kind to people who challenge power. She lifts her chin. Says quietly that power should expect resistance. The room holds still. Outside the glass, the city moves. Cars flow. Lives continue. Inside, the balance shifts. He does not threaten. Does not raise his voice. Does not order her away. Instead, he says something unexpected. He says courage without awareness can be dangerous. She answers that silence is worse. For a long moment, neither speaks. This is not confrontation anymore. This is recognition. She realizes he is not deciding whether to punish her. He is deciding what she is. He finally steps back. Gives her space deliberately. He tells her to return to her work. Says this meeting never happened. Says she will be observed. Not watched. Observed. She nods. Turns to leave. At the door, she pauses. Does not look back. But speaks anyway. She says she will not become smaller to survive. Behind her, he smiles. Not with warmth. With respect sharpened by danger. When she leaves the floor, the elevator carries her down. But her body knows. She has crossed an invisible line. And once crossed, there is no pretending she belongs to the ordinary world anymore. Because men like him do not call people upstairs to scare them. They call them to decide whether to keep them close. Days begin to blur together. Morning arrives before rest ever fully does. She learns the rhythm of the place. The way people lower their voices when certain doors open. The way names are spoken only when necessary. She works harder than she ever has. Not because anyone orders her to, but because she senses the weight of being noticed. Papers pass through her hands. Figures. Routes. Timelines. She reads carefully. Asks questions only when needed. She refuses to be careless. She feels him before she sees him. Every time. Sometimes he passes without stopping. Sometimes his presence slows the room. People straighten. Conversations end. Chairs scrape softly as men stand. She never looks up too fast. Never seeks his attention. But she does not hide either. One afternoon, a folder lands on her desk. Thick, heavy, unmarked. She hesitates, then opens it. Inside are documents that do not belong to ordinary business. She understands enough to know they represent power, control, risk. Her breath tightens. She stands and walks toward the glass offices. Heart steady, steps measured. Inside his office, he listens without interrupting. She points out an inconsistency, a delay that could cause exposure. She does not accuse. She explains. The room goes still. He studies the page, then looks at her. Slow, intent. You noticed this? He asks. Yes. She replies. Most people do not. He says. Most people do not look closely. She answers. Something shifts. He nods once, tells her to sit. This is the first time he includes her. Not as a test, but as a voice. After that, the work changes. Not in volume, but in depth. She is invited into rooms where doors are closed, where decisions are weighed, where silence means agreement. She watches him lead, not with force, but certainty. She notices things others miss. The way he protects those who are loyal, the way he removes those who betray trust. Quietly, completely. Fear no longer defines him for her. Control does. Late one evening, she stays behind to finish a report. The building empties. Lights dim floor by floor. He appears beside her desk, hands in his pockets. You should go home, he says. She replies that the work is not finished. He watches her for a moment, then says neither is this world. She meets his gaze, does not flinch. He leaves a glass of water beside her. No comment, no demand. That small gesture unsettles her more than power ever could. As days pass, whispers grow. People notice her proximity, the invitations, the silence around her name. One woman watches her too closely. A man avoids her eyes. Someone stops speaking when she enters. She feels the danger now. Not from him, but from everything around him. One evening she asks him directly, what happens to people who stand too close? He answers without hesitation. They either become essential, or they disappear. The words land heavy. She looks at him, sees no threat in his eyes, only truth. She understands then. This is not a test of obedience. This is a test of who she chooses to be. And for the first time, she realizes he is not watching her to control her. He is watching to see if she will break or rise. It is subtle at first. A pause in conversation when she walks past. A look that lingers half a second too long. A smile that never reaches the eyes. She has lived long enough to recognize this feeling. It is not fear. It is judgment forming. The building is the same. The work is the same. But the silence is heavier. She sits at her desk and opens her email. Nothing unusual. Yet her shoulders do not relax. Someone has moved a folder on her desk. Only slightly. Just enough to tell her she was not alone. She closes her eyes briefly. Breathes. Reminds herself she belongs here because she earned it. In the pantry, too, women stand too close together. They stop speaking when she enters. One glances at her shoes. The other smiles politely. Busy morning. One of them says. She nods. Fills her cup. Leaves without asking. By midday, a message arrives from an unknown sender. No name. No signature. Be careful who you stand near. Her pulse spikes. She deletes it without reply. Fear wants to bloom. She refuses to let it. Across the city, he receives his own message. Spoken quietly, by a man who has known danger his entire life. Someone is testing the perimeter. Someone is asking questions about her. His jaw tightens. Not with anger. With calculation. He gives a single order. No one touches her. The men nod. They understand what that means. Back in the building, she is called into a meeting. She notices the seating arrangement has shifted. She is farther from the center now. She speaks when asked. Clear. Measured. Unapologetic. One man interrupts her. Questions her numbers. His tone sharp. She answers calmly. Corrects him without raising her voice. The room goes quiet. He watches her from the far end. Does not step in. Does not rescue. She understands. This is the test. After the meeting, he calls her aside. Not into his office. Into the hallway. You felt it. He says quietly. Yes. She replies. He studies her. Searching for something in her face. Fear. Resentment. Doubt. He finds none. This world does not forgive closeness. He tells her. She looks at him. Asks if that is a warning. It is information. He replies. That night, she leaves later than usual. The street is darker. The wind sharper. A car slows near her. Passes. Circles the block. Her steps do not falter. But her hand tightens around her bag. The car disappears. When she reaches her apartment, she locks the door. Leans against it. Lets the tension settle. She understands now. This is no longer about ambition. This is about visibility. The next morning she arrives early. As always. On her desk sits a single card. No writing. No explanation. She recognizes it. Access. Her breath catches. This is protection. But it is also a line. If she takes it, she is marked. She walks into his office without being called. Closes the door behind her. I do not want favors. She says. He meets her gaze. Steady. Unmoved. This is not a favor. He replies. Then what is it? She asks. It is a shield. He says. And shields are noticed. She shakes her head. I want to stand on my own. He steps closer. Lowers his voice. Standing alone is brave. But bravery does not stop bullets. The word hits hard. For the first time, fear flickers across her face. Not panic. Clarity. She sees the truth fully now. This is not office politics. This is territory. And she has stepped into it. Whether she wanted to. Or not. The day begins too quietly. The kind of quiet that makes instincts rise. She feels it before anything happens. A tightness in her chest. A sense of being observed. She sits at her desk and works. Focus sharp. Movements precise. She refuses to let fear make her careless. Mid-morning, she is asked to deliver files to a restricted floor. The request is ordinary. The location is not. As she walks, the halls feel narrower. The air heavier. Voices lower. Men step aside without looking at her. She hears words not meant for her. Shipment. Delay. South route compromised. She keeps walking. Pretends she does not understand. But her body knows. Around the corner, she stops abruptly. Two men stand near an open door. Their jackets shift, revealing what they carry. Not subtle. Not hidden. Her breath stills. This is not corporate power. This is something else. One of the men looks at her. Eyes sharp. Measuring. She nods politely and continues. Heart pounding. Steps steady. Inside the file room, her hands shake for the first time. Not violently. Just enough to betray how real this has become. Later that afternoon, she is called again. This time by him. She enters his office and closes the door behind her. No greeting. No pleasantries. She asks him directly, "What kind of business is this?" He does not answer immediately. Walks to the window. Looks down at the city. Then he speaks. "This is a world built on silence," he says. "On loyalty. On consequences." She takes a breath. Asks if that means danger. He turns back to her. Meets her eyes fully. "It means choice," he says. She presses further. Asks why men with weapons walk freely. Asks why her name is whispered. His jaw tightens. Not with anger. With restraint. "Because you are near me," he answers. The truth settles into her bones. Slow. Heavy. She realizes the partial truth she has been avoiding. He is not just powerful. He is feared. She asks if he is what people think. He does not deny it. Instead, he says something quieter. Something worse. "Once you see this, you cannot unsee it." The room feels smaller. She understands now why he warned her. Why he offered shields. Why freedom was the most dangerous thing he gave her. She steps back. Not in fear. In clarity. She says she does not want blood on her life. Does not want her future shaped by violence. He listens. Truly listens. Then he tells her the final part of the truth. Nothing in this world is clean. But some of us choose what we protect. That night, she leaves the building shaken. Not broken. She walks home instead of taking a car. Needs air. Needs space. Halfway down the block, she senses movement behind her. Footsteps. Measured. Not rushed. Her heart races. She turns sharply. The street is empty. But she knows. Someone is watching now. And for the first time, she understands. His world has noticed her. Not as a mistake. Not as an accident. But as someone who matters. And in a world like his, that realization is more dangerous than ignorance ever was. It happens in the space between one breath and the next. She steps out of the building, just as dusk folds itself over the city. Lights flicker on across the street. Cars slide past in long, restless lines. She senses it before she sees it. That pull at the base of the spine. The warning that comes too late. A hand grips her arm. Not rough. Not gentle. Controlled. "Do not scream." A voice says close to her ear. Her heart slams hard. But she does not scream. Another man steps into view. His face empty. His eyes sharp. This is not a robbery. This is not random. They guide her toward a black car. Not forcing. Not rushing. As if resistance has already been calculated. She does not fight. She watches. Counts steps. Memorizes. Before the door closes, another presence enters the space. His presence. The air shifts instantly. "Release her," he says. The men freeze. She turns. And there he is. Standing calm. Hands at his sides. Eyes lethal. No shouting. No threat. Just certainty. The man holding her arm lets go. Steps back. The second man lowers his gaze. It is over before it begins. She is moved behind him. Not hidden. Protected. "Take them away," he says quietly. The men disappear as if erased. She is shaking now. Not from fear. From understanding. This was not chance. This was a message. Inside the car, she finally speaks. Her voice low. Steady. "This is your world," she says. He does not correct her. He drives in silence. City lights streaking across the windshield. When they stop, it is not at the office. Not at her apartment. It is somewhere private. Safe. Inside, he finally turns to her. This is what I tried to keep from you, he says. She meets his eyes. Asks him plainly, what are you? He breathes out slowly. I run this city, he says. Not publicly. Not legally. The words land like weight. She does not cry. Does not shout. She asks the one question that matters. Will this happen again? He answers honestly. Yes. She nods once, absorbing the truth. She realizes then. This is the moment that divides life. Before knowing. And after. She steps closer. Not in fear. In resolve. You should have told me sooner, she says. He replies, I wanted you to choose freely. That is when it breaks her. Not the danger. Not the violence. The care. She understands now. Fully. Finally. The man who blocked her car was never just a man. He was power. Watching. Measuring. Waiting. And when she stood in front of him, she did not challenge a stranger. She challenged a king. And kings do not forget women who meet their eyes and do not bow. The room is quiet but not peaceful. She stands near the window, arms crossed, looking out at a city that suddenly feels unfamiliar. He stays back, gives her space. For the first time since they met, he does not move closer. She needs that. Her thoughts race, but her voice is steady. She tells him she cannot stay near him without losing herself, that she will not become a shadow protected by fear. He listens without interruption, without defense, without control. This is the hardest thing for him. When she finishes speaking, there is silence, long enough to hurt. Then he nods. You are right, he says. The words surprise her, not because she doubted his intelligence, but because men like him do not surrender ground easily. He tells her the truth fully now, that his world does not forgive attachments, that anyone close becomes leverage, that love is a liability he has avoided for years. She asks why her. He answers simply, because you did not kneel. That answer frightens her more than the danger ever could. She turns to face him, tells him she will leave, not in anger, not in panic, but because staying would change her into someone she does not recognize. He does not stop her. This is the moment that proves everything. He opens the door himself, steps aside, lets her pass. Freedom. Real freedom. Not staged. She pauses at the threshold, asks one last question. If I walk away, will you let me disappear? His jaw tightens, but he nods. Yes. She leaves. Days pass. She returns to a smaller life, a quieter routine, distance that should feel safe. Yet she notices things. A car that follows then vanishes. A stranger who steps too close, then backs away. Danger held at bay, but never gone. She realizes the truth. Even distance does not erase gravity. Meanwhile, his world shifts. Men question his restraint. Enemies sense hesitation. They think she was weakness. They are wrong. She was choice. One night her doorbell rings. Late. Unexpected. She does not panic. She knows. He stands outside. Alone. No guards. No armor. She lets him in. This time there is no power in the room. Only two people, standing in the aftermath of truth. He tells her the cost. That choosing her means war. That silence will no longer protect either of them. She tells him she will not be hidden, will not be rescued, will not be owned. He agrees. This is not a promise spoken lightly. She reaches for his hand, not because she is afraid, but because she is ready. If we do this, She says, "We do it openly." He nods. The choice is made. Not by force, not by fear, but by two people, standing in the storm, refusing to step back. And somewhere in the city, the balance shifts, because the most dangerous thing in his world is no longer his power. It is the woman who chose him, knowing exactly what he is. The room is full, not crowded, but heavy. Men stand along the walls, faces controlled, eyes sharp. This is not a meeting that allows distraction. She sits near the end of the table, back straight, hands steady, every instinct alert. She knows this is the moment that decides everything. He enters last. The room shifts, not from fear alone, but recognition. Authority settles like gravity. He does not look at her immediately. He takes his place, waits until the room stills. Then he speaks. "There have been questions," he says, "about loyalty, about judgment, about weakness." No one interrupts. He continues calmly. "My silence has been mistaken." A few men shift, uneasy. He turns then, finally, and looks at her. She does not look away. She feels the weight of every gaze, every assumption, every danger. He speaks her name clearly, not softly, not defensively. "She is under my protection," he says. The room tightens. He does not stop. She is not leverage. She is not a liability. She is not a secret. Anyone who touches her, threatens her, or speaks her name with disrespect, answers to me. Silence crashes into the room. This is not romance. This is declaration. She understands the cost instantly. There is no return now. A man stands slowly, asks if this changes alliances. He answers without hesitation. It clarifies them. Another asks what happens if she walks away. His voice lowers. "Then I walk with her." The meaning is unmistakable. She feels fear, real fear, but beneath it something stronger. Choice. Later, when the room empties, when the power has settled into consequence, they stand alone. She exhales for the first time, asks him why he did not ask her permission. He answers simply, "Because the world would have torn you apart while deciding." She steps closer, rests her hand against his chest. "Then this is my choice," she says. Weeks pass. The city adapts. It always does. Those who tested boundaries disappear. Those who whispered fall silent. She does not vanish into his shadow. She works. She speaks. She challenges. And he lets her. Not because he is kind, but because he respects her. One early morning, they return to the garage, the place where everything began. The concrete looks the same. The light still cold. She stands where she once stood alone, heart racing, defiant. He stands beside her now. No car blocks the exit. No threat hangs in the air. Only memory. She laughs softly, says fate has strange timing. He replies that courage does not wait for permission. She turns to him, meets his eyes. She says she is not afraid anymore. He believes her. The city wakes above them. Engines starting. Lives moving. And in the quiet below, two people stand. Not as ruler and protected. Not as power and defiance. But as equals, who met in a moment of conflict and chose not to step back. Sometimes the story does not begin with love. It begins with refusal. And sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is stand her ground and never move again.